What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Top of the Key. This is episode 5. I'm your host, Sai Balabajra-Petruni, also known as the Beard 2.0. Keep calling me that. If you like the video, don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, turn on notifications, leave me a comment or two telling me how much you love or hate me. I love hate mail. I love hearing how much people hate me. We got a very special episode today. We have a very special guest. My good friend Mike Mets Waldron is on the show today. What's up, Mike? Welcome.
I'm doing well. I just got back from a run. I'm a little bit sweaty still. So we're going to power through. Really dig deep for this podcast. But I got some takes. I got a lot to say. I'm excited.
Well, we're excited to have you on. And one of the things that we're going to be doing a little different today is out of all my friends, Mike is the biggest baseball guy. And so we thought, how about we talk some baseball today? So the big thing going on in the MLB right now, there's a big holdout between the league and the players. We don't know if there's going to be a season right now. Obviously, the conflict between the MLB and the Players Association has kind of reached a new low this week. Really not much negotiations going on. So I just want to get your take on this, Mike. If you think there's going to be a season and what both sides are saying and where this dispute's coming from.
I actually kind of do think that there's going to be a season. And I think the more we hear about it, I think they're getting closer. I think they're just sort of in negotiation stalls. I think the most recent news was that the MLBPA sent a counter proposal of 70 games instead of 60 games. So they're clearly not far off games-wise. While that is so significantly shorter than what a normal season is, having anything is going to be great. And I think there's a discrepancy in the money being paid, which is about 250 to 300 million, which seems like a lot. But I think for a lot of these billionaire owners in a multi-billion-dollar organization, there's going to be a way to move past that in some regards. But I think that we're closer than people think. I think it's been bad because social media has played such a powerful role in determining people's perception of what's going on with the negotiations. I think the offers being leaked has really it's really thrown everything into a bad light, I think, for both the players and the owners. But in general, it's kind of this age-old baseball thing where it's always been an owners versus the players thing. And I think what the league absolutely wants the least is another repeat of 1994 where you lose a season. And I think we're closer than people think. And I think especially amidst the pandemic with so many organizations coming back, the optics on MLB not returning would be truly, truly abysmal. And I think the owners know that. And I think Manfred knows that, and I think the players know that. I mean, the players want to play.
Yeah, I've definitely been seeing the same thing. I think the big question here is with the money. Most of the offers that the league has made haven't been full prorated pay, which the players obviously want. If they're going to play 70 games, they want to get paid 70 games worth. And I think that latest deal with 70 games does have is with fully prorated pay. But I did see that the league is likely to reject this offer. I'm not do you think there's a timetable for this? Do you think it'll be happening sooner or later, or how long do you think we'll have to wait?
I think it'll be sooner rather than later. I think with all the other leagues starting up soon, I think there's so much pressure on both parties to kind of come to an agreement. I think as soon as this weekend we could see something. We're taping this on a Friday, but I think as soon as Saturday or Sunday, I think there could be either an agreement or a rejection of a proposal. But I don't think that the parties are too far off now. I think May through April there was a large stall, and they were really worlds apart between games played when the MLB counters a proposal of 116 games with 48 games. You're naturally really far apart. And I think that a lot of people were rubbed the wrong way, players and fans. But now that there's a difference of 10 games, 60 to 70, it's a lot closer than I think people think. And yeah, I don't think Twitter has done a great job of shaping people's opinions on what's really happening. Social media naturally does that. But I think, yeah, I do think we're a lot closer than people think. And I'm excited. I mean, as a baseball fan, I want baseball. And I think the real thing that has been lost in all of this is that, Rob Manfred came into the league and he wanted to be this guy who was like, we need to get new fans, build baseball for a new generation. And there was no greater opportunity than at the beginning of the quarantine to get some kind of deal and agreement made where baseball could be the only sport back. And now that they've lost that, I think they've taken a major step back in what baseball has been trying to do in gaining fans. And I think that's where baseball's been hurt the most.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. I think there is a sentiment from the players that Manfred's looking out for the owners more than he is for the players right now. Obviously the owners are a little skeptical of having a large number of games just because with no fans, that they could be having even more losses, which I don't really buy that much. But without fans, they could be taking extra losses. But I did want to ask you one more question about this. Manfred came out last week and he said that there was a 100% chance baseball was going to be played. And then he comes out this week saying it's not definite. Where do you think that difference came from? What changed?
I mean, ultimately, he's sort of a puppet for the owners, right? Like the owners can vote him in, and he's sort of had to regurgitate whatever the owners tell him. And when the owners are like, we want to play baseball. I think all parties want to play baseball. We heard that there is a small contingent of 6 to 8 people who did not. The owners, state owners, who didn't want to play. But otherwise, I think all parties want to play. If there's no baseball, everyone loses the most amount of money, right? That is the ultimate
Yeah.
floor. But if there is baseball in any degree, people make money, and that's what people want. And I think it's easy to say, but it's the truth in that he's done a bad job through all this. And for him to somehow take the throne as worst commissioner from Goodell in the last 6 months is beyond impressive. Um, some would have thought it never would have happened, but for him to desecrate the World Series trophy the way he did at the start of the year, calling it just a piece of metal, and now kind of speaking, with no basis and with no claims on 100% a season. Now I don't know if there's a season all within a week. And for him to not try and capitalize on what he wanted to do the most in growing baseball and not squandering the opportunity that he had. He's just flatly done a terrible job. And it's easy to say, but it is the truth.
Yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head by saying he's doing worse than Goodell because there was a long time we thought no one could do worse than Goodell, and Goodell's been handling what this NFL situation decently well for.
I mean,
But
for us to be talking about Goodell in any sort of positive note is something unheard of and unthinkable even a year ago.
Yeah. Um, Last thing before we move on to the NFL, if you're the commissioner, you're in this situation. What kind of deal would you ideally think would work for both parties?
I think that they're going to come to some sort of agreement. I think I would come to some sort of agreement between, somewhere in between 60 and 70 games. I think 64, anywhere from 64 to 66 games. While none of this is ideal, having, the initial 48 offer is, a little more than a month. And that's just no way to really determine, a baseball season, because there's so many ebbs and flows and streaks and ups and downs in baseball where teams get hot, teams get cold, that kind of stuff. And I think somewhere between 60 and 70, even though it's low, that's, I think, where you really kind of determine if a team is good or not. Um, I think there was no way for that for 48. So, I mean, if I'm an owner, if I'm the commissioner, um, I think you have to do somewhere in there to determine, what teams qualify. And, they're going to do the expanded playoff, which is, I think, something that could stick. And I think it could, get a lot of new baseball fans, because baseball, I think, is a more exclusive playoffs than people realize. Just in the NL East alone, there, of the 5 teams, 4 were above 500 and winning teams. So to expand that to more teams, I think, is something that is on the forefront of the commissioner's mind, and I think it's on the table. Getting rid of an NL, getting rid or making a universal designated hitter position is also big, and I think that's been part of the proposals. But yeah, I think 64 to 66. Ideally, if you could do 70 or more. But that seems to be the number that will quell a lot of the tensions and maybe come to an agreement on. And then expanding the playoffs. I think that's what they're going to come to, and I think it'll be soon.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking about it for a while now, how MLB should expand their playoffs, regardless of what's going on. Just because, I mean, you got a league where you have 162 regular season games, and then 8 playoff teams, I think it is, and you have one wild card game to determine if you make it or not. I think that's just kind of crazy. When you got leagues like the NBA where every playoff series is a 7-game series, that, also anyone's opinion is fine there. I mean, that could be too long as well, but the MLB playoffs compared to the regular season is extremely short. So if they expanded that a little bit, I think it would be more interesting, make things more fun.
Yeah, and it's just exclusive. You need more teams. I think that's where, NBA has surpassed the MLB in popularity. Is, your team could make a run at anywhere from 6 to 8 seed. You don't get that as much in baseball unless you're just an established powerhouse team. Because your season, theoretically, in baseball, could be over within 2 months.
Exactly, and I mean, there's also the difference with baseball where if your franchise doesn't have that much money, you're not going to have as much success in the long run. Moving forward to the NFL, this is a really tough subject for me to get to. Jamal Adams requested a trade yesterday. He wants to be. Obviously, there's been trouble with the Jets and Jamal Adams to reach an agreement on their contract negotiations. Adams has a year left on his rookie contract, but he wants to get paid early. He wants to become the highest paid safety in the league. Right now, that's Eddie Jackson on the Bears, who's getting paid $14.6 million, and he also wants to be the highest paid player on the Jets. C.J. Mosley is getting paid $17 million right now. It's a lot of money for a safety, but before I get into this and really just give a passionate, give my passionate feelings towards this, I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the Jets, this is heartbreaking. As you're a franchise that seemed to be trending in the right direction, you had Darnold. You've sort of gotten some pieces in the last few years to start to really turn the franchise around, and this is kind of the last thing you want, obviously. And it just hurts, I mean, in general, New York sports deserve better, and it's a crime that, between our hockey and football and baseball teams that there aren't these kind of perennial, at least contenders. For the Jets to lose Adams, especially like this, is, again, optics are terrible because it's you get the lull Jets and it's just like, what are we doing? It's painful, but you obviously have the ability, and there's some promise as him being an established player. He's on a lucrative rookie contract that I think teams would be very willing to trade for. Even if it's a 1-year rental before they don't pay him. There's contenders like, Cowboys or the 49ers who would love to add depth on their defense and add a star. And they would be willing to give up a lot, even if it's just for a year. I mean, if you're the 49ers, you should be going all in. You should have won the Super Bowl last year, and you got to go all in.
Yeah, I totally think Adams is being a little bit of a baby here. He's He's the type of guy who's just going to take to Twitter and just let out all of his feelings without really understanding the big picture. I mean, look, it's not that the Jets don't want to pay him. The Jets see him as a long-term staple on that defense. The problem is if we pay him right now with a year left on his contract, we won't have enough money to pay some other guys that we need. We're still building our team, and if we pay him too early, there could be problems with the entire roster. So, additionally, I want to add that the pandemic is going on. Teams are more reluctant to pay players right now. We have a much more conservative GM right now than we had in previous years. Joe Douglas has done a great job. He's drafted well. He's handled free agency well. I just think, look, the Jets hold all the cards in this situation because they can trade him to whoever they want and get whatever they want out of him. They're not paying him that much right now. They're going to pay him $3.5 million this year, and then if they take the fifth-year option next year, they'd pay him $9.9 million. So it's, from a cap space point of view, it's really not hurting the Jets that much this year.
And, I would ask, as a Jets fan, having followed his kind of antics the last, year or so that have really kind of ramped up, do you think that this is some sort of bluff in any way? Do you think this is absolutely final?
No, not at all. I am. There's a lot of Jets fans out there who's like, oh, he's going to leave. But I don't buy it for a second. I think there's a chance he could leave. There's a chance we trade him away, but I mean, look, he's the type of guy who's going to say anything to get what he wants.
And which could hurt his trade value, which honestly, with the Antonio Brown stuff, seeing the sort of devolution of him and just how he sort of lost his mind and over the last year or so with antics kind of like this, there's definitely a chance for their teams don't want to trade for someone that they sort of know is a wild card,
Well, that's it. And any team that takes him, I don't really see them paying him after a year either. I don't see a team like the 49ers or the Cowboys trading for him and then after a year paying him the type of money that he wants. They're contenders. They're serious contenders for the Super Bowl, and they don't have that kind of money to throw to a safety. I'm sorry, he's a great player, but safeties don't get paid that much.
Yeah, it's a hard position to stay healthy for. I mean, you saw that with the Vikings and Anthony Harris. They had to franchise tag him. He wants to get paid, and Vikings aren't really at they're kind of strapped for cash, and he's a guy that they want to keep around and pay, but they had a franchise tag.
Yeah, I think he just wants to talk. I don't think we'll end up trading him very soon. I think if it continues and it starts to hurt the team, we might consider it. He is talking about holding out on training camp and other things like that. But at the end of the day, I think the Jets hold all the cards here. If they can get a great deal out of him, they can get a couple first-round picks or a first-round, second-rounder, and some decent players to add along to that. I would personally take the deal just because I'm tired. As a Jets fan, I'm just tired of the Jamal Adams drama that's going on. Like, we don't need that. The team's moving in a positive direction as far as the rest of the team goes. We're getting pieces to help Darnold with the offensive line, with wide receiver help. The defense, I think, is pretty solid outside of we've made some upgrades. I mean, CJ Mosley is going to come back healthy. That's a great boost on the linebacker position. Our defensive line is pretty competent, and we drafted a great safety. So obviously I'd love to keep Adams. He's a generational talent. He's a game changer. But at the end of the day, if he's going to prevent you from moving in a positive direction and you can get a lot out of him without giving too much money up.
Yeah. Especially if, you are confident he might walk, you have to get something in return for him. If now is the time to flip him for picks or veterans or expirings, now's the time. You don't want to keep him around for another year on a very lucrative rookie deal and then have him walk. You want to get something in return.
Yeah. And I think we'll be able to come up with some sort of deal. Just because New York is a New York in general is a tough place to play. The fans are very demanding, and the fans want Jamal Adams to stay. I think that's in the back of Joe Douglas's mind. Obviously, if it doesn't work out, you're gonna try and flip him, but he's gonna want to make some sort of deal happen. I'm hoping at least. But look, either way, I trust that this is the first time in a very long time that I trust the Jets front office. I think they're actually competent right now.
Yeah.
I think our previous GM had a draft class where all the guys were out of the league within 2 years. So this is definitely a significant upgrade.
I'm excited.
Yeah,
Jets.
Jets. Let's go. Last point on that. He's open to play for the Ravens, Cowboys, Texans, Chiefs, Eagles, Niners, Seahawks. He just added the Buccaneers to that list, so he obviously wants to play for a contender. What team do you think he would be? I hate asking this question, but if he were to get flipped, what team do you think he would be a good fit on? Who he could really help make a run this year?
I mean, with a talent like that, I think he's good on any team. I personally think seeing him and Earl Thomas on the Ravens together would be pretty incredible. I think the question is more, who's going to go out of their way and get him? Because he's such a generational talent, like you said, and I think he's going to add a lot to a team. I think Ravens or 49ers are teams that are going to go all in the next few years. You just never know with football. You never know how long your window is open or closed. And I think those are two very, forward-thinking teams. And I think they know that they have a limited amount of time, no matter how young or talented their team may look on paper, that you just never know what happens. So I think filling up as much talent as you can onto a roster is always a smart move, no matter how, if you go over the cap, trade away someone who, is still pretty good, or picks. I love established players over picks. Just give me a player who is already established. I don't want the prospect of top pick. So I think those are, I would say 49ers or Ravens are the two teams that are heavy favorites to land him. Now, I don't know off the top of my head what their, draft capital looks like, but I think those are two very forward-thinking teams that are willing to expend draft capital or players to get a talent like that to try and win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think if we can flip him for a solid wide receiver or edge rusher or corner, and maybe get a couple picks on top of that too, I'd take that deal. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like with getting an established player, I think that's what the Jets need right now. We had a good draft, and I know we can draft well, but moving forward, we want to think about how we'll progress this year. This is the year that I really think Darnold's going to have to prove himself, and you need to put all the pieces around him to make that work. But yeah, it breaks my heart to see Jamal Adams request a trade, but that's the nature of the business. You kind of have to deal with it sometimes. But let's move on to your favorite team, the Vikings. Let's talk NFC North. I'm disregarding the Bears and the Lions completely.
It's irrelevant. Time to talk. Two irrelevant teams.
Let's talk Packers, Vikings. Give me a Vikings breakdown, what you're looking to see next season.
I think we're kind of in a similar boat as we were from last year. I think we got, the same talented team. We kind of brought everyone back. Losing Diggs is tough, but we got some good picks in return. We freed up some money to re-sign players. I think we had a feeling Diggs was going to leave. I didn't know. I don't think we knew it was going to be this early, but knowing the amount of talent we have on the team, we have to pay Daniel Hunter. Thielen's only gotten better. There's a lot of talent you got to pay. So, someone's going to have to leave. And to get the haul that we got for Diggs, I mean, wow. Seeing I'm spacing on the Cardinals now.
Um,
He got traded from the Texans. DeAndre
oh,
Hopkins.
Hopkins, yeah.
Seeing the haul that DeAndre Hopkins, went for the Texans and to get what we got for Diggs, borderline highway robbery. So, I'm
Yeah.
obviously it stinks to see him go, but we drafted the kid from LSU who looks fantastic. Uh, and I think we got a lot of potential. I think the Packers are due to regress. The Packers were supposed to take a receiver to build around that offense, and they took a backup quarterback.
The
And it's
pack.
exactly what happened to Brett Favre when he was on the team when they took Rodgers. And now Rodgers is getting a taste of his own medicine. And as a Vikings fan, I love to see it. Obviously, this is, it was Christmas for me when I saw that pick come in. I laughed for about 4 hours straight, and then another day after that. But in general, I think we're right there with the Packers to win the North. I think the Packers were a fraudulent 13-3 team, as I think most people thought, and they got bludgeoned in the NFC conference game, which was also beautiful to watch. So I think it's up in the air. We could still win. With the expanded playoffs, I think we have to be an odds-on favorite to make the playoffs still. You never know what happens with the NFL. Nothing's given. It's any given Sunday. Anything can happen. But I think it'll be interesting, and I think we are still a favorite to win the North.
So when I did my NFC predictions a few weeks ago, I had the Packers on top. I had the Packers winning the North. I had the Vikings in it as a 7 seed. So you guys barely made it with the extended playoffs. Look, I think for the Packers, either two things can happen. They can kind of implode early. Aaron Rodgers wants out. He might. I could definitely see him going to a new team in the next year or two.
Or be a Vikings legend.
He could go to the Vikings. He could go on the same path as Brett Favre. Come to the Jets for a year randomly.
Yeah. Rip our hearts out.
But I think after the Jordan Love draft pick, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a man on a mission this year.
He very well could be. He's sitting on a very hot seat right now.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing, I totally agree with what you said earlier about the Packers draft. Look, Aaron Rodgers has been their franchise quarterback for over 10 years now, and they really haven't given him any wide receiver help in the draft ever.
And I love it. And I absolutely, absolutely love it as a Vikings fan.
They haven't helped him out at all. I mean, I think Devontae Adams is going to be great this year. He's got Aaron Jones in the backfield. He's going to be pretty solid. The offense is still going to be pretty good just because Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. He's going to make plays. I think the Packers this year will win the division. I think next year onwards, I think it's just going to be the Vikings division to lose for a few years. I think they're going to have a stronghold on the division, but I think this year might be Aaron Rodgers' last chance in Green Bay to win a Super Bowl.
I think, I would go as far as saying it might be his last year in Green Bay.
Yeah.
I don't know if they want to keep him.
I don't disagree with you.
Granted, they might keep him around just to, train and groom. Jordan Love, right?
Love, yeah.
He's the guy they took.
Yeah.
So I think they would keep him around just to groom him. But, for the most part, honestly, he's lost a lot of zip on his deep ball. And it's fading. The talent's fading. And
it might be
screams Vikings quarterback in about 3 years, which will be fun because he'll rip our eyes out in the NFC Championship game.
He's definitely lost a little bit of the zip on the ball, Mike. But what I see in him is he can still make clutch throws at the end of games where it really matters. We saw it at the end of the game against the Seahawks in the divisional round last year. We've seen him still make plays down the stretch. It's just the front office has never really fully been able to put the pieces around him, and that's what we're seeing. We haven't seen him with weapons on the wide receiver position, multiple weapons. We've seen the Jordy Nelsons, the Devontae Adams, but if you give Aaron Rodgers the arsenal of weapons that a Patrick Mahomes has, or some of these other quarterbacks, or Dak Prescott, I mean, he'd have won 2 or 3 Super Bowls by now. I just think it's a travesty that they haven't been able to do it. But on the other side of things,
hey, I'm not complaining. I
know
can't
you're
complain.
not.
I love it.
But on the other side of things,
I'm starting to blame the 2014 NFC Championship loss on Aaron Rodgers.
the 20.
Time will say that that was an Aaron Rodgers choke job.
Yeah, no, he's definitely he's had some choke games. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
He's had some choke moments. But I just want to flip to the other side of things. What's your outlook for Kirk Cousins this season?
I think he's only gotten better every single year he's been here. I mean, he proved in that Saints game that he can be the guy. He got it done in that overtime. That throw to Adam Thielen was ice cold. And honestly, I thought Adam Thielen could have stood up, walked in for a touchdown, and then he threw the game winner to Rudolph in the end zone, which is great. But I think he's only gotten better, and I think Dalvin Cook's only gotten better. Losing Diggs is tough as a target, but Diggs really didn't have that much. He wasn't targeted that much, but
he's a big deep ball threat.
Thielen's his guy. I think Rudolph is borderline a wide receiver. They have him at tight end because he can block, and he's a big guy, but he's borderline a receiver. And I think the kid out of LSU is going to be good. He's going to fit right in. It's just it takes time to kind of figure out, what guys' tendencies are on, snap to snap plays, just running routes where guys like to catch the ball. That kind of takes time to gel. And I think he's going to be better. I think he's only gotten better.
I think a healthy Thielen just helps you guys out tremendously. Obviously, Thielen was hurt for 6-7 games last season. I don't remember exactly how many, but he kind of missed most of the second half of the season. I think that kind of hurt you guys a lot. His production wise, he's up there as one of the best receivers in the league.
Definitely.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. It's definitely down to Vikings and Packers. It's going to be close. I have the Packers by a very small margin. Obviously, you're picking your Vikings, but we'll see what goes down. But moving on, the big story in the NFL for the past couple weeks has come back to the question surrounding Colin Kaepernick. Obviously, Roger Goodell came out and supported Cap and said that Kaepernick should be offered a job again, kind of reversing everything that the NFL has stood by for years because they obviously want to protect their image. That's how I see it. But do you think Cap's going to get signed this year? What's your thought?
I think he will. I honestly do. I think it would look great for the NFL. I think it would grow it would grow the sport fan wise, and I think it's positive or negative. It's media traction. And, the NFL has had to start competing with the NBA for airtime on just like the year to year. Who gets coverage? What are we talking about on podcasts, sports radio, that kind of spiel.
Especially this year now.
Especially this year. And I think I saw it somewhere on Twitter. I think what better team to sign him than the Chargers? Why would it not be the Chargers? They don't have a quarterback. Got rid of Rivers. It's a new franchise in a new city. It's not a new franchise, but it's they've moved to a new city, and they've got weapons. I mean, they have they've got talent on the team.
Yeah,
I think there would be no better place for him to go and restart his career than an established team. They're a year removed from making the second round of the playoffs, the divisional round.
They almost won the West that year.
Bolster the fans. I think he could grow the fans for that franchise. And I think they would head-to-head compete with the Chargers. Or, the Rams.
The Rams. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That would bring in so many new fans to the NFL. The Chargers, everyone would root for the Chargers. Like the vast majority of games they play. And Anthony Lynn has come out and said that he would be very open to inviting Cap to sign with the Chargers. He's on board. It looks like that's a prime destination for him. Some other teams that I thought would be a good fit. I don't exactly know if probably not at the top of his list, but I feel like the Jaguars and Titans could be possible destinations for him. Jaguars obviously tanking this year. Gardner Minshew, we don't know how good he is. They're kind of putting their faith in him, but Cap could be a guy that you put in if things don't work out. I see the same type of situation with the Titans. Tannehill had a good season last year. I don't really see him as the answer moving forward for Tennessee. I think there were a lot of games last year where he threw for like 70, 80 yards and Derrick Henry did all the work. So I think there are a lot of potential destinations. I heard someone tell me that the Patriots would be a good spot for Cap, and I absolutely disagree.
Well, we know Boston fans, so
yeah. Well,
we know Kraft and Belichick.
I kid.
We know Kraft and Belichick. I don't see him fitting with that.
I just don't know if they need it, but I think it makes the most sense. If you're thinking of as like the owner of the Chargers, and if you're thinking about the Chargers just from a business standpoint, you need to gain fans and you need to gain attention, and you need to sell tickets because people aren't going to those games, and that is one of the easiest ways you can sell tickets, sell jerseys, and just make money for this franchise that seems to be going in the total wrong direction. And the players know that. And I think there's no way – the spotlight would be on the Chargers. And I think the knock with signing Kaepernick for the longest time has been like, it's this negative media that, the team doesn't need right now. Well, guess what? The Chargers need that, and they need a lot of it. And there's no better person to sign than Colin Kaepernick. And I think if it's going to happen, it would happen soon. And I think it should happen.
Yeah, and I think that negative media has completely turned to positive right now with everything that's going on. I totally agree. LA is not the biggest football city. Football's not. They really don't watch football that much in LA. The Rams and the Chargers have always said that home games are not like home games. They don't have many fans. It's like they're always playing on the road week in and week out. I think you sign Kaepernick, Chargers gain a lot of fans. The Rams are moving in the wrong direction right now. So this could be a perfect time to optimize on that as well. Make the Chargers the city of the team of LA if Cap comes in. So I really hope someone signs him. I think it would be a travesty not to. With everything that's going on in the world right now, I think if you sign Kaepernick, it's just such a positive direction for the NFL, who's been on the wrong side for the past few years, and it would kind of be a monumental change.
Certainly.
Yeah. I can't wait to see the 30 for 30 on it when 20 years down the road.
It'll be eventual.
Yeah. Before we move to the NBA, I want to get your early AFC Championship, NFC Championship, and Super Bowl predictions.
Put me on the spot. I haven't given this any thought. I think the 49ers are just so talented enough that they'll have to be back there. Honestly, I like my Vikings in the NFC Championship. I like us there. I think it'll happen. We'll make a run. I think we'll get our eyes ripped out again. But that 49ers team is talented. I still see them coming out of the NFC. They really haven't lost much. They had a really good draft. They've got a lot of talent, and I think that's a hungry team. And I think they're going to want to be back there, especially in the Super Bowl. So I got them coming out of the NFC. AFC, I cannot see the Chiefs not being in the AFC Championship again. I mean, I think they are really like the new Warriors. I think that team's going to be around for a while. They're fun. They're electric. They play kind of different than most teams, and I think they're slowly but surely going to revolutionize football in the sense where you need these kind of crazy gunslinger, freestyle quarterbacks that are just going to kind of make something happen.
Mm.
And I think, Mahomes' counterpart right now is Lamar Jackson. And I think they were destined to meet this year. And Derrick Henry had other ideas. But I think it's going to happen this year. And I think it'll be a toss-up between the Ravens and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And, if one of those two teams gets Jamal Adams, it could be their year. I will say Niners-Ravens Super Bowl.
Niners-Ravens. Okay. I'm gonna go a little differently. I'm gonna step back from Baltimore a little bit. I think defenses are gonna start figuring out Lamar Jackson a little bit more this year. I think he's gonna have to throw the ball a lot better, and because teams are gonna start to figure out the running schemes that the packages that Baltimore has. I think they'll still be great. I haven't seen it from Lamar in the playoffs yet, so I'm gonna kind of break the put a break on that a little bit. But I got the Chiefs. Obviously, I think the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl no matter what. But I got the Chiefs playing the Bills.
Wow.
I think the Bills make a little bit of a run this year. I think that's one of the best defenses in the league right now.
You're asking a lot out of Josh Allen.
Josh Allen's getting better. I think you got Diggs now. You got some weapons to throw the ball to. It's only moving forward for the Bills. They're only moving in a positive direction.
This is true. I love the Bills. Could set up for the inevitable Bills-Vikings Super Bowl where someone has to win.
I'm gonna press the brakes on that a little bit.
All right.
But I got Bucks Seahawks in the NFC Championship.
Bold. I like it. I'm selling stock on the Bucks bandwagon.
You're selling? I bought all stock.
I know you bought all stock, and I saw everyone buying, and I was like, yeah, I'll sell a little. I bought a little, and then I saw everyone buying it, and I'm selling a little bit. As entertaining as it will be, I will tune in for all those games. Selling a little bit.
I absolutely agree, but here's where I come in differently. So I got the Bucks beating the Seahawks in the NFC Championship, but I don't think the Bucks will win the NFC South. I think the Bucks make it as a wild card team and win the Super Bowl against the Chiefs as a wild card team.
That is a scalding hot take. I'm entertained thoroughly. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think they have the highest. They're the most volatile team with the most variance. I think they could either be a 14-2 team or combust as like a 6-10 team.
Oh, absolutely. It could only go one of two ways.
I don't think there's any in between.
But I think it's like their offense obviously has a lot of firepower now, and now you got a veteran quarterback who knows what he's doing. But if you look at that defense, they obviously gave up a lot of points last year. That's why, I mean, even with the number of touchdowns Jameis threw, they still lost a lot of games. But like the problem is you can't really play defense if your field position's at like the 20 at every drive because Jameis throws a pick every possession.
It's brutal.
I seriously think that they're going to be a strong contender. I think they'll go through some growing pains in September, but they'll start to figure it out once the season progresses. And I know it's a bold prediction, but I got the Bucks taking it all.
I like it.
But yeah, that's the NFL. It's going to be really exciting come September. Obviously, have to see what's going to go on with if they're going to have to play in a bubble or whatever happens. We'll see. But let's talk NBA. A lot of news in the NBA this week with Kyrie Irving, Dwight Howard, talking about how players should sit. They shouldn't play this season because it's going to detract from the Black Lives Matter movement and all the work that's been done over the past month. What do you think about this?
I don't know how grounded it was. I think it was something they threw out there, but I think NBA players, for whatever reason, have the utmost right to not play. I think that this is something they totally have not signed up for, and it is something totally out of their, natural, maybe comfort zone or day to day. This isn't what they wanted to do, spending, X amount of time in Orlando, secluded from family. It's hard for a lot of players. But I think with such a unified face of the league, like LeBron saying, we're going to play, I think that carries a lot of weight. And I think a lot of the players, I think I don't think force is the word, but I think it's just, they have to follow suit, sort of. Because if that is the biggest guy, the face of the league is saying we're going to play, they're going to play.
Yeah.
But again, if any players, for whatever reason, be it family, being separated from family for an extended period of time, be it, worries of COVID. And again, first off, we should talk about that for a little bit. Orlando is having a massive spike in COVID cases. 1 out of every 6 person is testing positive who tests, which is crazy. So that's already, could be jeopardizing what they had in plan. But yeah, I mean, if it's for the Black Lives Matter movement, family, health, reasons that they're scared of, they have every right in the world to not play.
I sort of agree with you on some points. I think if you're scared because of COVID and the virus that's going around, and you're going to be away from your family, I completely agree if a player doesn't want to play. I have a little bit of a problem with players thinking that they shouldn't play because it'll detract from the movement that's going on with Black Lives Matter. Just because the way I see it, I think the NBA could be an even bigger platform for the movement. I think it'll bring together a lot more people, fan-wise, who will experience these games. And if they can use these games to, like, say before every game they do something for the movement, I think that could be very powerful, because a lot of people are going to be watching these games because people are excited about the NBA coming back. I think it could be a bigger platform for them to spread this message. But I also just, coming from just the social justice standpoint, everyone is on, like, most people that in our communities are on board with everything that the Black Lives Matter message is. And everyone in the NBA, the league itself, is very much for that. I just think, look, if I'm working, I can't stop working to participate in the movement. You know what I'm saying?
I guess my thing is, like, knowing LeBron, knowing the leader that he is, for his team and for the league, he is absolutely tuned in to the movement. He is totally, in all sense of the way, invested. And I don't think that he would do anything to jeopardize the movement. And I think he's fully involved, and I think he's going to find a way to unify everyone's kind of voices and opinions on it and not detract from it. And I think they're going to push forward. I think they're going to play. I think he would respect players' decisions to sit out if they want to, for whatever reason. But I think they're going to play.
Yeah, and well, that's what I'm saying. I think there's a way you can play without detracting from the movement. But I just feel like at the end of the day, you have to do your job. I mean, these players are getting paid a lot of money to play. That's their job. And for the rest of the people out there in the world who are working right now, people on the front lines, they can't just not go to work. And I look at, and that's just what I see at the end of the day. An additional point to that is not all these players are getting paid the type of money Kyrie gets paid. Like, people need to play in order to.
A lot of other players don't have the luxury that Kyrie has. Yeah, it makes sense. But he could do something where if other players decide to sit out, he would cover their salaries. He's got a lot of money. It'll be interesting. I don't know. I think I think the players are free to do what they want because they're so far removed from the norm of what NBA basketball is and just their daily lives that you're already putting him. You're putting him in a pretty. It sounds luxurious. You're in the Orlando resort and you're playing video games, but to be separated from family that much and now to be in a city that has such high COVID cases, like there's a lot of negatives that do come from it.
I definitely agree with the COVID argument, and I think for the most part, players should get to do what they want. I just have a problem with the idea of not doing your job. There's so many people out there who would rather stay at home and be with their families right now too, but they have to go to work. It's a difficult time we live in, but I just when you're making millions and then you don't want to play, I don't know. I take issue with that a little bit, but I definitely understand with everything going on in the world right now. There are things that are definitely bigger than basketball, and that's what we're seeing right now.
Definitely.
Moving on. Want to get some of your playoff takes moving forward into the season.
Clippers beat the Raptors in 6 in the NBA Finals.
Wow.
Just gonna throw it out there.
This is a real take. You're not joking.
No, I'm gonna stand by it.
Clippers over Raptors.
I love the Clippers.
I don't
buying
question
up a lot of
your Clippers
stock
take
right now. I feel like Clippers stock is it hasn't been too volatile. It's been left alone during quarantine. I'm buying up some. I'm very in on them. I think that's a team that just turns it on in the playoffs.
I see that. Kawhi is definitely the type of player who does that. But no, I get the Clippers. I'm very intrigued to see what you have to hear about the Raptors, though.
I mean, they've kind of plugged in pieces to make up for Kawhi's lack of scoring. They still have a lot of talent on that team. Siakam's great. Lowry's great. They still have Marc Gasol. Anunoby's getting healthy. I mean, they have these players that can kind of plug in, and the offense runs seamlessly. Like J.J. Redick was saying that's one of the best offenses he played this year. Like, he loves the way they play. I think Milwaukee has regressed in the sense that they've lost a Malcolm Brogdon player who, like, come playoff time, you need him. Come playoff time, you need other guys. You don't have this deep bench. You're not going to be playing like 9-10 guys. Like, you're playing like a 6 or 7 man rotation, and that's asking a lot of Giannis, and that's a lot of other. There's not as much talent on that team as there was last year. I haven't seen, we haven't seen the Sixers kind of figure it out, and we haven't seen the Celtics really kind of fully gel. And I think that Raptors team knows what they are, and they work seamlessly as a unit. And I think they're going to shock a lot of people. I think they're going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I think they'll be in the finals.
So I completely disagree with you.
I love it.
I think so. From the East, I think the Raptors are a very solid team. I agree with everything you said about the Raptors. I just don't think they're good enough. Siakam's great. Siakam has kind of filled that role into the best player on that team. But he's not a type of guy yet who I think can take over games consistently in the playoffs and shoot the ball at the end of the game. I think teams like the Bucks have a lot of playoff experience at this point. They've been there. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals now. They toughed it out with Toronto. Toronto was able to figure out a way to stop them. But I think the Celtics just have so much firepower. I have the Celtics over the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Finals, just because I think you can't disregard a 60-win team. I think
certainly
the Bucks. It's regular season. I get it. It's not the playoffs. Teams play a tougher defense. Teams can stop Giannis, cloud the paint, make someone else shoot it. But I just think if the Bucks want to win the championship this year, Middleton's going to have to average like 25 to 30 points a game.
I think they're just generally a guy away. And look, we're not too far apart on our takes here that the Bucks aren't there yet. And I think that's kind of how a lot of people feel. Even if they get to the finals, we've seen the bigger teams like the Clippers and the Lakers find a way to remove Giannis kind of from the equation of their offense. And then once that happens, it's like they don't have another guy. Like
we're at a point
that doesn't really take over. Chris Middleton, he's a Celtics killer, but he's not really like he's not gonna give you like 40 points when you need it.
That's exactly what I'm seeing. We're in a point in the NBA where you can't win with just one star. You need players around you who can score and play defense. That's why I'm picking this. I'm a little biased. I love the Celtics, obviously, but I'm slightly. But I just think the Celtics have so much firepower from an offensive end. I mean, Kemba can score the ball. Tatum can score. Jaylen Brown's great. Gordon Hayward. I mean, you have so much firepower. And then you also got, all those guys can play defense. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are great defenders. They're solid two-way players. And they, before the virus hit, they were really starting to come together, and Tatum was really taking over and saying, I'm the guy on this team. And he was
they were a game away from the finals in 2018.
Yeah. And who screwed that up? Kyrie Irving.
True.
Look, I think it's their year this year to make the finals. But I think the West is where we might really differ. Western Conference Finals.
Mavericks.
Western Conference Finals, I got the Lakers against the Rockets, and the Rockets make it to the NBA Finals.
Another absolutely scalding hot take.
I
have a Rockets fan. I love it though.
No, I am also, but I have a crazy hot take about the Rockets when we give our hot takes, but which we'll talk about later.
Is Rockets in the finals not enough of a hot take?
No, I got more. Rockets over.
It gets hotter than Rockets in the NBA Finals.
Oh no! Well, first of all, the Rockets are not only in the NBA Finals. Rockets over Celtics in 7. Rockets win the championship.
So is that the hot take that the Rockets win the title?
Well, that was on my hot takes last week. I can't duplicate my hot takes. I got to come up with new ones every week.
No, yeah, I know.
But yeah,
the hot take cycle.
Rockets win the chip. Harden gets Finals MVP. He wins his first championship. The Rockets are going to start a dynasty. No, I don't believe that last part, but I think the Rockets are due. I think when you look at the Rockets the past few seasons, people have talked about how James Harden has been great throughout the regular season, and he falls apart in the playoffs. He gets tired. He doesn't have anything left in the tank when it comes playoff time to really deliver. But look, we've had a big break now. NBA is going to come back after a few months off. Harden's going to be well rested. Then you got Westbrook to deal with as well, who's always going to be have that firepower. And Harden lost a lot of weight too. He's skinny. Harden is going to take the league by storm.
Yeah, blows by everyone. I like it. I just think that I think the Clippers have so much firepower, and I see them as such a playoff team where if Kawhi for some reason doesn't have it that night, Paul George is giving you 36 to 40. If both of them magically don't have it, Lou Williams is just going to carry the team. I just think they're just a playoff team, and they're built for it. And I think they've got a lot of these veterans who know their role and they know the moment and when to step up. And I think just watching last year's run with the Raptors, Kawhi has such a propensity to know the moment and know, all right, I'm going to just kind of sit back and kind of get the offense going, or he's like, I need to take over. And he does. And it's pretty amazing to watch. And he's just a very quiet killer. He wants that.
Well, here's the problem I have with the Clippers. The reason I don't have them winning, and this might be a silly reason, but I will say this. Everyone is load managed now. Kawhi is not the only guy who's getting all that rest. So
this is fair.
It creates an even playing field. He's not taking all the games off anymore. Everyone hasn't played, so I don't know. I definitely agree that from a defensive standpoint, they're so big from Montrezl Harrell. It's like they
Zubac.
Zubac. Oh, Zubac is great. Zubac is great. Paul George, one of the best two-way players in the league. And they have weapons on offense too. Like they got depth. I just think the Lakers are bigger. I think the Rockets just shoot more threes. So I don't think it's their year. I think Kawhi. I think we should pump the brakes a little bit on Kawhi.
Well, you're gonna hate my hot take then.
All right, I'm ready for them now. Let's go to hot takes. Let's get to these hot takes. I want to.
You want my hot take? Do you want all three in succession, or do you want?
We'll alternate.
Trade
You go
one for one.
Yeah. Trade one for one. You go first.
All right. Kawhi Leonard ends his career with more titles than LeBron and Kevin Durant.
I don't hate the take.
Not hot enough for you. Wow,
I don't.
Incredible.
He only has one.
It's a hot take, but you like the take, which is all I need.
I like the take. I just don't think this year's the year.
I think we could really see the birth of like a Clippers dynasty in the next.
Oh, okay. I don't agree with that, but I think
we're about to be really surprised how good this Clippers team is come playoffs.
they're good. I think if LeBron doesn't win the chip this year, I think there's a very good chance of your prediction coming through. True. I think Kawhi can win one more. I think he'll have at least 3 or 4.
Yeah. All right, let's hear yours.
My first one. This is my mildest take. I got Baker Mayfield will lead the league in interceptions.
Lead the league in interceptions.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah.
I buy it.
I don't believe in Baker. I'm selling all Baker stock. I think I don't think he's the type of guy who can be consistent enough to win. I don't believe in the Browns.
As a Darnold guy, you have to hate Baker.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we haven't even seen like glimpses of like what good Baker is, you know, like at least with Darnold or Allen, it's like there's these games or even flashes of just like, oh, that's how good he can be kind of thing.
It's not even like I don't see it as like
that with Baker.
Well, no, that's where I completely agree. It's not even he has a great game. He throws like 300 yards. When I see Darnold play, there are some moments where he'll make passes where I'm like, whoa, I didn't know he could do that.
Yeah. Same with Allen. Allen's got a cannon.
Exactly. And when you can't make it work with OBJ and Jarvis Landry on your team, there's something wrong there. There's something missing. And that's really where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Okay.
Give me your second
hot
take.
Or do you want to keep going?
No, you give me your second one.
The Cincinnati Reds will win a World Series within 10 years.
Wow.
That team is so quietly loaded, and I don't think people realize it. I think what we're seeing is, the National League is kind of aging in the talent, where like the Cubs were really good, and then like the Dodgers were really good. Same with the Cardinals, and even the Nationals, who just won. But they have a lot of aging stars, and the Reds are very quietly a loaded team. They've got the absolutely massive jacked pitcher, Michael Lorenzen. He's fantastic. This power hitting just slugger, Derek Dietrich. He's great. They have Trevor Bauer, the former Cleveland Indians pitcher, and he's now on the Reds, who's fantastic. They have Yasiel Puig, who's great. They still have Joey Votto. I mean, this team has a lot of talent that people don't realize that are maybe a year or two away. I would even go as far as saying like 5 years away.
5 years.
I mean, this team is really, really good.
Well, you heard it here
they
first.
Signed Mike Moustakas. I forgot about that. Like, this team is really, really good. Like, the way the NL is trending is like a lot of those perennial playoff teams like the Dodgers, like the Cubs, like the Nationals, just they're aging the wrong way. They're getting old. Now I know the Dodgers have Walker Buehler, and I know they have a lot of other guys like that, but this Reds team, I mean, if they get maybe one more pitcher and one more star, this team is World Series bound. They're really good. Keep an eye out for them. As someone who's semi-tuned in to MLB, I mean, this team is really has just crazy potential.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. The Cincinnati Reds will win the World Series in the next 5 years. That'll be a nice break for the city of Cincinnati.
Yeah, I used to live there. Michael Waldron, former Cincinnati resident, is what I would like my documentary blurb to say. Barack Obama, former Chicago resident. I want it to be Mike Waldron, former Cincinnati resident.
My next 2 hot takes are very wild.
I'll take one of them.
All right.
So this is going off of the Rockets are in the NBA Finals, win the chip take. James Harden will average 40 throughout the playoffs.
Wow, that's insane.
I kind of love NBA Finals.
How many in the finals?
No, he'll average 40 throughout the NBA Finals too.
Yeah, that's insane. That's asking a lot. He could. I mean, that would if he won the title, averaging 40 points a game, that would be the single greatest playoff run of all time. That might be just slightly too hot for me.
That's a little too. My next
you
one.
You can talk me down to like 34.
All right, I'm just trying to get hotter and hotter each week. Like just throw out some crazy takes. I don't really. I think he could average a lot of points. 40's high, but I'm just gonna throw it out there.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I don't know if I'm getting hotter with my takes. Maybe this next one is. It's still pretty hot, I think, but I think the Patriots missed the playoffs.
I completely agree.
I love it. Yeah, you need a quarterback. I feel like they barely got in the playoffs this year.
I think there's a chance they could be last place in the East.
I love it. Yeah, I'm off the Patriots. Sell all stock. Dynasty's over.
I don't see it from Stidham. Yeah, I don't know what their draft was. Like watching them draft, it didn't really make any sense. I don't know what Belichick's master plan here is. I feel like he has to have one, but I guess they believe in Stidham. I don't. I think it's downhill for the dynasty.
No, the dynasty's over.
Yeah,
it's unequivocally over.
Yeah,
I'm glad we're in agreement on that. I'm glad that almost wasn't even sort of a hot take for you.
Oh, I totally. Wait till you hear this. I think you're going to love this last one.
I'm really excited.
The Chicago Bears will go 0-16.
I'm here for it. I mean, obviously, I love it. They could be abysmal. I mean, if they play Trubisky the first 7 games, it's well within the realm of possibility. Because here's the other thing is if you find yourself at an 0-7, 0-8 junction, you're throwing the season away. You have to tank from then on.
Yeah.
If you're at any point, even if you're 0-6, even if you're 0-5 or 0-6, your season's done. Unless you go on some god tier run. But I think they have a really difficult schedule. And it's backloaded with hard games.
They got a lot of tough games that I don't think they'll win. But I will say this. I see them being really bad this year. 0-16 might be a little bit of a stretch, but I see them being really bad.
Sub 5 wins.
Yeah, I could absolutely see that.
I like it.
But I'll add to that is if Trubisky plays the first 7 games, goes 3-4, 2-5, and then gets hurt, and then Foles comes in, they're winning the Super Bowl.
I like it. A total inverse. The flip-flop takes.
But Trubisky has to get hurt, and then Foles has to come in midway through the season. That's the Foles recipe for magic.
If Foles comes in, they'll get to the Super Bowl. Foles will get hurt, and then Trubisky has to come in during the Super Bowl, and then Trubisky will rip their eyes out in the Super Bowl.
That would honestly be that would be poetic.
That would be the pipe dream. I mean, that would be the ultimate Packers and Vikings and Lions dream. That they'd lose in some heartbreaking fashion in the Super Bowl.
I'd love to see that. I would absolutely love to. I think that's definitely the best take I've had all season.
That's what we're rooting for. I like it.
For sure. So those are the hot takes. We are almost out of time here with Mike, but we want to get to the last part of the show. We got the power rankings coming up. Mike's going to join us with reading some of these off. Mike, give me number 10.
Number 10, we got the 1984 World Series champions and currently just the Detroit Tigers. You got to love them. I mean, I think won less than 40 games last year, just off the top of my head. A dumpster fire of a team. But, man, oldest logo, I think, in MLB, which is really cool. Love the jerseys. Heartbreaking team year in, year out. You got to love them. Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, I really think I put them on this power ranking because I think they're the epitome of Detroit sports. They really just as Detroit sports stands right now, they really just explain the story that is there to be told.
Yes.
Just a struggle.
Just a struggle.
But they won the 1984 World Series.
That they did. Back in the glory days. The 80s were good for Detroit sports. Pistons won.
Kind of was.
Yeah.
Lions were good. I think they had the who was it? Barry Sanders, right? Late 80s.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. The Detroit Tigers at number 10. Number 9, I got Kevin Durant because he recently came out and called Kendrick Perkins a sellout, which I thought was very ironic.
It's beautiful. It's poetic, certainly. I also love Kevin Durant because he's doubled down on his use of burner accounts, which is amazing.
What were you saying?
He doubled down. Kevin Durant doubled down on his use of burner accounts.
This is
on
true.
Twitter,
This is true.
which I'm also a fan of, which shoots him up the rankings.
I'm not a huge fan of Kevin Durant. I think so Kendrick Perkins commented on Kyrie's comments, and he talked about his leadership, kind of criticized him. Kevin Durant calls him a sellout. Like, how are you calling someone else a sellout? Like, if you're Kevin Durant, I don't understand that. Like, he's the biggest sellout we've had in basketball in the last decade. Like,
Certainly is.
You move to a 73 win team. I don't respect Kevin Durant all that much.
Fraudulent and soft move.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Glad we're there. Well, at
give me
number
number
8,
eight.
we have out of shape Luka Doncic, which everyone loves, an out of shape white guy. We need more of them in the world. We don't have enough, especially in the NBA. We need more out of shape white guys in the NBA, especially a very talented one like Luka Doncic. We're looking to see him put on about 20 to 30 pounds before this playoffs.
Absolutely, and I think you hit the nail right on the head because it's really a travesty that Jokic lost as much weight as he did.
Yeah.
But what I see from out of shape Luka is how different will it be from regular Luka? I don't really know. I mean, the guy's not the fastest guy on the court, anyways. Like he's all finesse, so I see it being pretty much the same as normal Luka.
I know, except much thicker, which I think is more relatable for every American.
True. This is true. At number 7, we got Mike Waldron. Thanks for coming out on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It's been great talking to you today about sports, and we hope you'll join us later at another time.
Yeah, whatever you need me. Throw me back in the waiting list. I've got a lot to say.
Absolutely.
Once MLB picks up and once NBA gets going, I'll be a frequent guest.
Absolutely, man. We got this every week. We got a waiting list of a lot of people want to be on the show. Demand is picking up.
Demand is high. You love to
Demand
see
is
it.
high.
I'm glad. Well, at number 6, we have the Zimbabwe national cricket team.
That's Mike's favorite team, guys. I just want everyone to know.
I do love them. Almost on par with Pakistan's run of excellence in cricket.
Don't start. Do not start with me right now.
I won't go there.
Yeah, Mike's favorite team. They're on the rise.
But I do love Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe's great. They got good players, I think. Maybe. I don't really know.
But
I can't say I do either.
I haven't seen them in a while. I've only heard good things. But number 5, we got faking injuries. It's a very valuable skill that a lot of players have been able to perfect. You watch the NFL, you need an injury timeout, you fake an injury.
Down. Just lay down.
Just lay down.
Yeah, works
You need
seamlessly. I'm here for it, and it's kind of picking up in the NBA too with flopping. Soccer started it.
Absolutely.
I haven't seen much of it in baseball. Looking to see a little more.
You need it. You got to just act like you got hit by the ball.
Yeah. Well, it villainizes a player for that moment.
Yeah.
And then it's something to root against, which is also fun.
You
So
love
we're
it.
looking to see more of that. At number 4, we have Kenny the Jet Smith.
The hero of Inside the
NBA
NBA.
championship for the Houston Rockets.
Yes.
And current TV host. Nicholas, he's on TV a lot.
I think he's the real star of Inside the NBA. I think he's bigger than Shaq and Charles Barkley on that show. Everyone I know watches the show for Kenny the Jet Smith. All those halftime shows they do, I'm looking to hear what Kenny has to say.
He gives a lot of great insight, and he's kind of a setup man for Shaq and Chuck's jokes. So, yeah, I agree with you at having him at 4.
Give him that love. Give him some of that love too. Number 3, it's very sad for me to talk about this because the Olympics aren't taking place this year, and one of the things I love to do during the Olympics is watch beach volleyball. So number 3, we got Olympic beach volleyball. Won't happen this year. Hopefully will happen next year. So rest in peace, beach volleyball.
It is sad. Well, at number 2, we have myself, Mike Waldron, again, which is exciting. This is what the cue card says. So I'll read that. That may have been for Cy, but it actually comes in as that it's me because I have to read myself. So I'm back in at 2. I've slid up the power rankings. We're gonna move the Zimbabwe national cricket team down to 6. I'm glad Cy was very happy about putting me at 2 and 7, which is great.
So disregard everything Mike just said. Number 2 is myself, your host, your wonderful host. And I put myself at number 2 for one simple reason: inspiration. I think through this podcast, I've been able to inspire the next generations and the youth out there to follow their dreams. And one day, 20 years, 30 years down the road, there's going to be another kid just like me starting a sports podcast. And he's going to say...
Getting it on the ground floor.
Exactly. And he's going to say, I watched Top of the Key when I was 10 years old. And that inspired me to become a podcast host on YouTube that averages 35 views a video.
We need more podcasts. More podcasts.
Let's just start a podcast about more podcasts.
I agree, because there's already podcasts about podcasts, so we need a podcast about those podcasts. Which is very exciting.
Absolutely. Number 1, just getting a little serious here. I like to reserve number 1s for like people who are out there doing a lot for the community. Right now, Steven Jackson, former NBA guy, who's been a major leader in the Black Lives Movement, Matters movement. Friend of George Floyd, he's been out there, really fighting for this cause. So, want to give a big shout out to Steven Jackson.
He's been fighting for a lot. He's been donating a lot, and he's a great host of the Pod, our competing podcast. But yeah, he's doing a great job over there. He's a great dude. He keeps it real all the time.
Yes, I actually wanted to talk about competing podcasts for a second. I was on Instagram yesterday, and I was like looking through some Instagram stories, and like one of these kids that I follow was promoting a new podcast they started about the NBA, and I lost it. I got so upset. I didn't think that people would try and compete with this great product that I've created for you all. But it's adversity, and we'll fight through it.
Yeah, got to dig deep here.
Absolutely. I do want to take some time to to talk about some of the big names that weren't able to make the top 10 this week. So at 1,452, we got Ted Bundy. Not a great guy. Really, really a tragic figure in history. Killed a lot of people. Not a huge fan of him. So that's my personal opinion.
We don't like killers.
We don't like killers. But right under Ted Bundy at 1,453, that's right, you guessed it, it's J.R. Smith. And that's all the time we have, folks. I want to thank Mike again for joining our podcast. Come back anytime, man.
Thank you for having me. We'll do this again soon when sports picks up.
Absolutely. Once again, if you like what you saw, like the video, subscribe to my channel, leave me some comments. Let me know what you think. I literally want to hear anything and everything you have to say.
Please send him hate mail.
Please. I really want to know how much you hate me. But again, that was Top of the Key. We'll be back next week. Thank you and have a great night.